Hello everyone. Welcome to my first ever review on this channel. Well, second actually. So today, I'm gonna be reviewing an old puppet show called Mongrels. Anyway, I would like to explain that this video will be the first to be broken down into parts, meaning it will be a full video, but I will put them into chapters or parts to help break down the review. So if you don't know what Mongrels is, check out this introduction from Gaming Furry's video about the show.
If you're not sure what Mongrels is, it's a 2010 BBC programme based around anthropomorphical animals.
So, that was a brief introduction to the show from Gaming Furries. Now it's time to explain more about the show's history in this review. So, I hope you're ready to learn about the show, and also discuss about the show's characters and episodes. Ladies, gentlemen, and furries, I present to you. Before I get into the review, I'll explain how it will work when I break the video down into bits. This is how it will work. The first part will be about how the show began. The second part will be about what the show is about and how it's filmed. The third part is about the show's characters and puppetry. The fourth part is about the show's writing and humor. And the fifth and final part is about the show's puppeteers and the led to the cancellation of the show and how it impacted the fans and furry community. So, let's begin. So the show took 5 years to make, which it all started when Adam Miller was working on a children's show called Ripley and Scuff in 2002 on ITV. He then met Andy Heath on that show and asked him to build a puppet for him, and so he did. Soon after, Adam told Andy he wanted him to work on a show with him about an urban animal who lives in London which goes by the name of Nelson, which then started the 3 incarnations for the Mongrels, and then this would bring us to the first pilot for Mongrels. Now, I don't have any clips of this because it's impossible to find on the internet, but I'll explain about it. Basically, a fox called Nelson moves to London as he's trying to fit into the city as a wild fox, but his friend Marion, a cat, told him that he was more of an urban kind of fox, rather than a wild one. So, during this whole short film, Nelson is trying to become a wild fox in the city of London. Once that happened, they went off and filmed the pitch reel for the show, which featured a different Nelson puppet, but more rough and obnoxious. The pitch reel was supposed to help the show get bought by a TV network in the UK, and the BBC saw this and they commissioned Adam Miller to make a pilot for the show, which was originally titled as We Are Mongrels. Technically, before the pitch reel was made, the actual show took 5 years to make altogether in total. However, let's continue on with the unaired pilot. In this never-before-seen pilot, the Mongrels characters were introduced and there were 6 characters in total, who are Nelson, Vince, Marion, Destiny, Callie, and Debbie. Though there were some differences from the pitch reel. Nelson became a metrosexual posh fox, Vince was swearing less, Callie had a different design, Marion was stripy, and according to Stephen McCrum, the producer, he said he didn't look like a cat and more of a mouse. Destiny was a brown Afghan hound and had kids, and Debbie was a suicidal chicken who stayed in her chicken coop. However, the actor for pitch reel Nelson was Paul Kay, who later became the voice of Vince. Rufus Jones became the voice of Nelson after I believe it was over 3,000 auditions for the character itself. Like with the original Nelson short, I can't find a small clip of the unaired pilot, but let's continue, shall we? The unaired pilot also took on the We Are Mongrels title name. During the production for the show, they went under tons of different names before making the actual thing itself, which were Nelson, Humans Everywhere, Never Been Stroked, The Unnatural World, and Understroked. The Unnatural World was the first Nelson short film by Adam Miller, which I have said before, it's impossible to find on the internet. After the unaired pilot, the show chose the name Mongrels, because of 2 reasons. One reason was there was a show by the BBC at the time called We're a Clang, and secondly, the show wasn't really about mongrels, it was more animal related. That concludes part 1 for this review. We'll now focus on part 2 where we'll be focusing on what the show is about, and how it's filmed. Welcome to the second part of the review. In this part, we're gonna be focusing on the show's characters and how the show is actually filmed. So let's get started. So, the show's characters were carried over from the original pilot, and was dropped to 5, instead of 6. They all got redesigned and kept their characters' look. If anyone's wondering what ever happened to Debbie, she was axed off the show and was reused as Wendy the Chicken in the show's official pilot on the 22nd of June 2010. The show is filmed on a raised set and it's also in a controlled environment. The cameras are also raised for the puppets themselves, whilst the puppeteers are standing up with a monitor below them to see whereabout is that character when they are on screen. I'm not sure of how long it takes to film an episode, but I know that in some episodes, the puppeteers will take the characters out in the public and film it, which Andy Heath told me it was taking them on location. But, before we start talking about the characters, here's some behind-the-scenes photos. Now let us move on to the third part of the review. Sorry if this bit was short. The puppets were made by a puppet workshop company called Talk to the Hand, who've been making amazing puppets since 2005, which it was co-founded by Andy Heath and Justin Evans. They made around 60 characters for the show with an eye-blinking mechanism for each puppet, well most of them to be precise of fat. However, the puppets were made with reticulated foam which kept them in good shape when using, and it's a good type of foam for puppet building which most puppeteers commonly use to build. But each character I mentioned in the previous part have their own personality, which I'll explain. There's Nelson. His personality was more of a happy-go-lucky kind of person. Sometimes he would like to do girly things when Vince sees him. And then there's Destiny. She was more of a sarcastic personality. She didn't care about anyone, including Nelson. But she was bothered by some stuff. She hated her owner Gary, and there's been some episode where she tries to kill him or actually hate him at all. Marion had a more of a brain-dead personality. Every time he says something, it's just something stupid. He doesn't even know the simplest thing or anything that's happened, though he did get distracted by the wiggly string in that one episode. Vince was more of a foul-mouthed and violent personality. I mean by that when people say his favorite word, he'll ask them the question, and if they say no, he'll attack them. Also, he constantly swears quite a lot and makes a ton of crude jokes with them, which I like about it, though the show isn't uncensored when he says their words, but everyone else is uncensored. And Callie had a more of a roadman-like personality. She would normally use sarcastic humor on the characters and sometimes would make it more dark and sinister. However, he roasts are quite funny at sometimes, even though half of them don't really make sense. However, the puppets did attend 2 conventions which I'll mention as well. The first convention Talk to the Hand attended was the Year of Urance 19 panel in 2013 with Warwick Brownlow Pike, as they were the guests of honor, and they were talking about how Mongrels became Mongrels, and showed how the puppets actually worked. And the second and final convention was the FurCon in 2015 in San Jose in America. They did the same from the Year of Urance panel and they were pleased about it, which I'll talk about my experience with them too shortly. Let's continue to part 4. This is more of a short part for this review, but I'll start talking about it. The show's writing had a couple of people on the team, and those people that I know of are Daniel Peake, John Brown, Adam Miller, and Dan Tetzel. However, the show's humor was quite very non-PC, which means that the show tried to break boundaries to try and offend people. If you look at the deleted scenes on Season 1, Episode 3, there were 2 scenes that were cut due to them being heavily offensive at the time, which was. Now, I'll continue on with Part 5. Welcome to the 5th and final part of the review. This will be a long one, so sit back and relax. The Puppeteers of Mongrels consisted of 5 puppeteers who are none other than Andy Heath, Warwick Brownlow Pike, Sue Beatty, Justin Evans, and Richard Coombs. Talk to the Hand consists of Andy Heath and Justin Evans, a puppet workshop business that's been around since 2005, and I was quite lucky to meet the pair of them in December of 2020. So on January 2012, the BBC decided to end the show after they have said not to renew the show for the 3rd season, making it short-lived, and it impacted on the fans and furry community, which it was a shame to see it go. However, I wonder what you thought of the cancellation of Mongrels. Mongrels was a fan favorite by the furry community as they liked the show's characters from the show itself, though they've thought of it as a fantastic comedy show to watch, and they've praised the writers, actors, and puppeteers for their hard work. I met Talk to the Hand last year in December as we were talking about the future of Mongrels and their other projects. It was quite fun to chat with them and talk about Spitting Image, Vince, and other projects by them. It was a pleasure talking to them, though I personally suggested to bring Vince back, but they weren't ready to do so. However, they were eager to work with me in the future on a project of my own, so who knows what may happen? Well, I'd like to thank the people who've worked on this show as they've worked so hard on it. It was a fun show that opened up to puppeteering for me and was able to meet Talk to the Hand co-founders themselves, and the fans, and the panels they attended to show what they did with them. It was a good show. That's all I have for this review. Thanks for taking the time watching it. Hope to see you again for more reviews.